Hey, everybody, welcome into another edition of the YBMcast with Matt and Brian. I almost pointed myself as Matt.
I'm Matt, you're Brian.
That's it. I'm a little confused sometimes, but that's all right. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today on the show. We got some great stuff. We got Coach Tony Perkins coming up here shortly. But first, we want to share a couple things that's happening, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some 13U, and we're going to start talking about some rankings. But first and foremost, February 6th, we're going to be out at the Sports Barn with Prep Baseball Report. Kevin Mulder invited us out. We're going to be doing some interviews and stuff with a lot of those kids from the state of Missouri. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do you think, Matt?
I think it's going to be exciting times. It's always nice to get to an event, get to a live event, and talk to the kids after they've gone through the event.
Yeah.
Their thoughts, and it's good. A lot of good dudes. It's going to be a lot of good dudes, so it'll be exciting. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we're excited. We appreciate Kevin Mulder giving us the opportunity, and Chris Craddock, shout out for allowing us to come out to the Sports Barn. We appreciate that. And, also just be looking, if you're follow us on Facebook at Youth Baseball Midwest. We're going to be doing a couple of live reports on our Facebook page from the event. And then we'll have our show with all the interviews and the stuff that we did there later in the week. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about, I also want to say one other thing. As we're coming up, our next, in a couple weeks here on that Tuesday, we've got Coach Russ Hill coming in from Fort Zumwalt East, talking some more baseball, talking some more GAC.
Yeah, another good high school coach.
Yeah.
It's always good talking to high school coaches, see what they got.
See where the rankings are. We're going to get closer to the state rankings for 2021, and I think that's going to be a difficult process personally for all these kids. And we're going to get some perspective from Coach Perkins on that here shortly, but I think that's going to be tough for these guys.
Some of them, it's probably easier for them than it is for us because they know what their program has, and they probably know what a lot of the programs within their own conference have. However, doing a state ranking on teams outside of the area, that's going to be hard. I think that would be hard. We're going to find out, though. But personally, I think that would be difficult. But if you're doing state rankings, you're only doing the top ones.
Right.
They may know as much about the top ones outside the area as they know within their own conference.
Agreed. Yeah. It's still, I
they
think.
They may. We don't know. I'm guessing.
How much are you invested in looking at those teams in Kansas City? Because you only are going to maybe face them in a state playoff. Or
a tournament early on.
Right. That's possible.
But you play in a tournament early on, that doesn't mean that's the same team late in the season.
Right. And also, Matt, we've talked about this. They missed a whole season.
Yeah, basically.
Right?
So, we'll see. I'm actually curious to see what Coach Perkins says in regards to the rankings, how it's normally done, and then how it's going to be done this year. Which, if it's just the same, great. If not, we'll find out.
Exactly. So, right now, though, Matt and I have jumped in full force into our rankings investigations. We decided for Youth Baseball Midwest, we're going to do some 13U and 14U rankings this year. Now, we're only going 10 deep. We're not going to get kooky and crazy and go 800 teams and whatnot. This is just strictly for the state of Missouri. We're not going outside of that right now. That's where we're starting. And as we grow, we'll be able to get, some better insights into things.
Yeah, but going past 10, it's got to mean something to be on there.
I think so. I agree.
It has to mean something to be ranked. Ranking 50 teams, once you get past 13, 14, does it matter at that point?
Is it a toss-up? You go out and watch tournament baseball on any given day. You talk about those teams. AAA to AA. You have some really good AA teams that can beat some AAA teams. And I think that goes to something we've talked about. And I'm going to say this. I know this might be a little controversial. I don't mean nothing bad by it, but I think sometimes coaches are a little blinded by their own team. And what I mean by that is, are they honest about how good their team is and where they actually should rank them in AA, AAA, or major?
Correct. The thing is, it's if you're a AA team, a good AA team can beat a AAA team.
Agreed.
It can happen. Normally what happens is a AA team plays a AAA team, and the AA team throws their number one, and the AAA team figures, I'm not throwing my number one, and then that's how they get beat.
Right.
Or they throw a good pitcher, and you have a really good game. The difference between a AA team and a AAA team is the bottom half of a roster.
Right. Agreed.
It's the bottom half of a roster. So you take a AA team can beat a AAA team, but can a AA team get through a AAA event? That's the thing. A AAA team can get through a AAA event because of depth. Normally a AA team doesn't have the depth to get through a AAA event, which is why they don't play AAA tournaments. There's nothing wrong with that. They just don't do it because they don't have the depth to get through it.
I love that. That's a great point. Depth is everything, isn't it?
Well, yes, in any sport, but
That's right.
But when you're talking about Little League baseball, I mean, yeah, you look at the lower level teams, and and I don't want people to think we're knocking on lower level teams.
No,
this
we're
has
not.
nothing to do with that. This is just the reality of where
It's just an honest conversation. Yeah.
Correct. A lower level team normally has the back end of the roster being a legit AA roster. And some of them may be lower level AA. It doesn't matter. However, a AAA team normally has I'm not saying a full roster, but it's close to a full roster. Major teams, which there's only in this St. Louis area, or even the state of Missouri, there's not a lot of real, true major teams. I think of a major team of you have 12 kids, all 12 of them are top-tier guys. If any of those kids left that team, they would be a middle-of-the-order bat or top of the lineup bat on any other team, or a top 2 or 3 arm on any other team.
Agreed.
Unless it's another major team.
Right. I think that's a criteria. And is there any real set criteria out there? Is there anybody that really says, okay, is there any organization out there, Matt, that says from USSSA on down, whatever the case may be, that says, if we want you to rank this way, but then I think it's probably, I don't think you could. I don't think there's any real criteria because you can't say, well, that is that and that is that. And
well, most of them rank based on points.
Right. I understand that part of it. I get that. But I mean, when the team comes in, they're registering as a major team, right? So that is still on the coach. And does it come back to the club itself if they're part of a club to say, hey, look, we want you to rank the team here? Is that more of a club decision?
I think it depends on the club.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have a club that says, hey, we want you to be listed as major, and just so it looks good, but if you're not a major team, what's the point?
Right.
Or it could be the coach. It says,
I want
to be listed as major.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to, say, a Mississippi, or if you go to a Louisiana, or you go to a Georgia, and you're listed as major, and U-Trip says you're playing major because you're listed as major, you're going to find out real fast if you're major or not.
And I think that's a fair thing. And I think major should be at a thought process. As you pointed out, I think that's a great thought process because I've always looked at a situation where if you're a AA team, you can play within your state pretty well and compete and things of that nature. And you said there's different levels in that. If you're AAA, you can compete in a regional level.
Yeah.
If you're a major team, you should be able to compete at a national level. If you go down to Florida,
if you're a major team, you have kids on your roster at 14U that are probably getting looked at by Division I schools.
And I think that's that's kind of always what I've thought
two.
about. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if they're not at 15U, they're definitely on the radar to go get seen.
And I think that's a great criterion. If coaches would think about that a little more, I think we would have a little more fair competition within the AAA, AA major.
Yeah, but I also think
situation.
that the tournament people, for the most part, do a pretty good job.
I agree. No, I'm not
moving them where they need to go.
Yeah, I'm not. This has nothing to do. I'm not talking about the tournament companies. I'm talking about the coaches, the clubs, and people that are, because they're the ones setting that in there in the beginning, and it's only after the fact that the actual tournament directors get involved in that, and they're saying, "Look, you're killing all these guys. You're not a AA team, right?"
Or vice versa. You know, do you want to continue to go 0-2 in pool play and then lose one game in bracket, and then you're only getting 3 games every weekend?
Exactly.
So it's it's an ego check one way or the other, I guess. But
yeah, I agree.
Either way.
All right, let's get into some of this. We got some 13U teams that we want to talk about that we've kind of started watching and whatnot. What's number one on the list there, Matt?
Well, we're not ranking teams right now.
We're not. I shouldn't have put it that way, shouldn't I?
Let's get that out there. We're going to go over 5 teams within the state of Missouri that have, over the past couple of years, they've always been highly competitive. They've been, if they're not a top team, they've been in the conversation of top teams at this age bracket.
Right.
13U is very difficult because there's a lot of moving parts in off seasons, teams combining. If an organization says, "Hey, we're going to combine," or people leaving to whatever.
Right.
But
right.
One of the teams that I'm actually really curious to see at 13U is out of Springfield, and it's Victus Midwest National. That is part of the group down with Marucci.
Yep.
That combined.
It was 417, the Nationals.
And then there was there was a couple smaller ones that came in on it.
Yeah.
So you're taking the Midwest Nationals and putting it with some other good organizations that had good players.
And 417 was having a lot of success down there.
So it's just a matter of, I'm curious to see what that is going to look like.
I agree, and I like that one because that is an unknown a little bit because you're bringing all these groups together. And just an FYI, Matt knows this. We're going to be down in Springfield. We've got a couple of tour stops in Springfield this year with our winter workout tour, and we're going to be stopping by the new facility or the facility they have there in the group that Marucci group is going to be on the winter workout tour, so we're looking forward to that.
From what I was told with them is they're supposed to have 2 AAA teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they're having a major team at 13U,
okay,
I don't know which one's supposed to be the top one. They may not know. They may just say we're going to figure it out whenever they play to see who's the better of the 2. I have no idea.
And that's very possible.
I don't know how they're doing it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to act like I know them personally and they told me this is what we're doing. So I'm just guessing at this point. You're going to find out. But that's one team of the 5 that I am interested in seeing.
Let's talk a little bit, just a little home here. One that I've followed since they were probably 9U, and that's Coach Ebert with the Missouri Gators. His squad's been good for a while.
Yeah, Dylan has a good team. He's always had a good team, and they're always in the thick of it every weekend. I mean, they're always playing a good schedule, good competition.
Yep.
Which is, all 5 of the teams we're discussing have that feature. But
are they a legitimate major team?
You talking about Ebert?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's curious. That's a good question. I think that would be a good question. I
don't know. You put me on the spot on that one.
No, I mean,
I don't know.
That's where my mind was.
I don't know what he did. I don't know how the kids have progressed. Like I said, I mean, you're talking about 12, 13. You might have a kid that's 6'2" at 13 years old. You might have a kid that's 5'2", and then the 5'2" kid might end up being 6'4", and the 6'2" kid may never grow again.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say yes. I think they are.
You think they are?
I'm going to go out there. We'll see.
I'm not answering that question because I don't know.
What else you got over there?
Well, we're sticking in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Recruits Legacy is the other one that I'm curious because they've got a couple good arms. Mm-hmm. They've always been good, and they competed every weekend, no matter what tournament they're in.
Okay.
Every level, whether they travel, whether they're in town, same as Ebert, they compete. So having an off season, I'm curious to see where they're at and to see when it's all said and done. I mean, they're a legit AAA team.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they put up some pretty good wins at the end of the year, beating St. Louis Force, putting together some really good wins, beating the Rawlings Tigers. You know, they put up some pretty good wins. They lost a close game in the fall to that KC Express team.
Yeah, but fall's fall. I mean, you never know who's around in the fall.
Yeah.
Kids may be playing soccer. Kids maybe, they pick up random kids.
It was a 4-2 ball game.
I'm curious to see where they are. They've got the top of the rotation solid. I'm curious to see how the back end will be on a Sunday afternoon.
And isn't that the key, right? Like you said, as we were talking earlier, you're talking about depth.
It's a solid crew.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a solid team.
So, and let's bring up that next one. Let's go over to Kansas City, that KC Express team.
KC Express, they tend to seem to travel.
Yes, they do.
Quite a bit.
Yes. It's interesting that a lot of these Kansas City teams do. Now, they're ranked here. I'm looking at the Game 7 site, and they're ranked as a major team. And they put a pretty good whooping on the St. Louis Force toward the end of the year there, beat the Gators team coached by Coach Lord. They beat the Recruits Legacy, So we're looking at a team that has that depth, has that, opportunity. And we want, because one of the things that we're looking at, we're not just looking at one part of the state. You can't do that if you're ranking people. So Kansas City has a lot of good teams over there, and we're not talking too much just yet because we're still investigating some of these teams because we're way over here. And I know Matt's seen some of those teams a little bit, but we're still investigating some of that, aren't we?
Yeah, like I said, we don't know a ton about them. We know basically what we see on paper, what tournament directors tell us, what other coaches tell us. Right. And they've actually come up on the list from just about everybody we've spoken to as being a solid crew. So we're going to get more information on them along with some other teams from over there. But definitely one that I'm curious to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
So
we got one more team that we want to kind of look at, don't we?
Yeah, I think we're going back to St. Louis, and it's the Bandits Black team. They've been together for a long time.
Yep.
They're always in the mix at a high level. It's been a group that's actually the last couple of years they've traveled a lot more.
They have, because I haven't seen them in St. Louis as much as I did earlier, when they were 10, 11, in that range. Yeah,
they're a solid group. They play well together, very well coached, and like I said, they go at it with the teams we've mentioned, the Recruits, the Gators.
I think it's interesting what I've seen of them, and this is my opinion. It is I've seen more consistency, and this is just something that I've seen when I'm out at the ballpark, because I see teams. We're out there with Game 7 quite a bit and things like that, and good defensively, solid. They make plays when they need to, and timely hitting, that type of thing. That's my opinion of it. That's what I've seen so far. Like I said, I didn't see anything from last year, so I don't really know from 12U. But from before that, I do know, and I've been there.
Yeah, normally fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's another criteria when you're looking at AAA, and that ranking, how fundamentally sound. Are you not going to make those errors in that crunch time? You're going to make a play. And I think that's a separator as well in that criteria when you start ranking teams at this age level.
Yeah, and like I said, they're kind of in the same situation, I think, as a couple of the other teams that we've mentioned in regards to the back end of the pitching staff.
Yeah, agreed.
Or can you hit enough in pool play for the back end to get you through pool play to where then your tops on Sunday?
That's where that 7, 8, 9 hitter have to be.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you're
putting the ball in play at least.
Well, yes, but then your top guys, they still have to perform.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a given, and that's what you're hoping for. That's what you believe. That's why those guys are in that, 2, 3, 4, 5 range. But that 7, 8, 9 guy, how much trust do you have that they're going to be consistent enough through a tournament that's going to get you?
I tell you, it's really fun to watch because we're talking about 13U baseball. Watching two really good 13U teams play and have the score, when it's all said and done, be 2-1. 7 innings, 2-1. You just got done playing an hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half. Like that, to me, that's it. Like it's golden. Because the pressure's on. Everybody's making plays. To me, I love watching that. So, and there's other good teams in the area.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and there's other good teams that we're going to look at. I know we're missing a lot.
That's okay. We're just starting.
But we're just going over some teams that,
These are ones that kind of stood out to us that we just kind of started with, that we're looking at, and not just focusing on one area. We want to, this is the state of Missouri. We're not talking about St. Louis. We're not talking about just Kansas City or Southwest Missouri, Springfield. We're talking about the whole state. And I want to throw in a couple of sleepers that are independent teams. All right, that we'll talk about. I'm not going to just say a bunch because we're going to get to our next segment with Coach Perkins here. But St. Louis Ducks out of Wildwood, Southwest Missouri Bombers down around Springfield. Always been really good teams.
Titans out of St. Louis. Right.
So we're going to look at these teams too, not just the clubs, but some of these teams that are right there that are playing good baseball, that compete every week. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. It's going to be fun, and anytime you do rankings, you make people mad.
So don't get mad at us. We're just having some fun here talking baseball. Well, folks, hey, thanks for watching this part. We're going to come right back after this break with Coach Tony Perkins. All right, guys, as promised, we have a Coach Tony Perkins from Francis Howell High School with us here on the in the show on the studio set. Thanks for coming in, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Always. Hey, we appreciate you. We're just a couple of Joe Schmoes here, man.
Anytime we get a chance to talk baseball, I'm in.
Amen to that. So, folks, we want to bring up and talk a little bit here today. We got a couple of subjects here. We're going to start off talking about high school rankings and the process that all the state goes through to get to that end where we have a preseason rank. There's preseason rankings, correct?
Yes.
That didn't look very reassuring.
This year is a little more difficult because of all the COVID kind of regulations and that kind of a thing. But there's some other stuff going on I can fill you in on.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we want to talk, because Matt and I, in the opening segment, we kind of alluded to that. There's got to be some issues in how that's going to affect the rankings coming up, yeah?
Yep.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into a preview with that. So let's start. What is the process? How do you guys get to your rankings?
Well, most years we have a clinic the first third week in January. That's all the Missouri High School Baseball Coach Association. This year, unable to have the clinic. I mean, the ABCA, the BCA, all 3 clinics I usually go to are banged. And they're going to, well, ABCA just had their virtual one this weekend. You know, they're doing it online. Our state one, Fundraising U out of the Kansas City area is putting it on, lined up some speakers. We're going to have a virtual one on Saturday the 16th, I believe it is, from 8 to whatever. But normally what happens at the clinic, you know, you have to be a member of the association. You have to be a member to nominate for All-State. You have to be a member to do the rankings, you know. So a lot of these players,
a member of what, Coach?
The Missouri Baseball Coaches Association.
Okay.
Back in the day, you didn't have to be a member. And a lot of times I was the only guy in St. Louis, and I'd have to nominate guys for All-State in St. Louis, which was a whale of a job.
Oh my.
And you know I'm going to miss.
Right.
There's just too many.
Right.
You know, but now they about 8, 9 years ago, they switched it. You have to be a member to nominate your kids for All-State. So getting back to the rankings, what happens is there's 16 districts, and that's going to change because now they're going to go to 6 classes in baseball. They don't let that out. MISHA, the state association, doesn't let that out until the second week of our season, which is like, you know, the second week of March.
Right.
So we won't even know. Well, I'm pretty confident that schools like ourselves will be 6, you know, and then there'll be 5, and then we'll figure it out. But what happens is there's a district rep in each district, and I'm normally in there, and I used to run it and that kind of a thing. But now you get, say, 16 guys, and most of the time they're all there, and everybody's welcome. If you're a member, everybody's welcome to this meeting, and we sit down, we hash it out. We go through, you know, who was in the Final Four the previous year, who's got guys coming back. Just because you got state championship in X year doesn't mean you're going to be number 1 the following year, which that was the case for a lot of years, which I can tell you in 03 that I said, you know, we won state. We didn't belong being number 1 in 04, you know, that kind of a thing. So it's really nice that we get along with everybody throughout the state. I mean, that's a big thing, you know. And
nobody's coming to blows.
And to be honest, most coaches, me in particular, don't like being preseason number 1. That's like the kiss of death usually. You know, and everybody wants somebody else to be number 1. Yeah, we're top 10. Like, yeah, right. Yeah, you got 5 or 6 arms that are 90, you're going to be good. Right. You know, that kind of thing. But you sit down, preseason, we get that out, we get it out there, we get top 10. And then there's others mentioned that we think that maybe would have a shot. And then it comes out every 2 weeks after that. We do it via email now because we encompass the whole state. And then every district rep votes. And then the guy in charge, who's usually like a Class 5 vice president is what we have right now. And he's doing 5 and 6. You know, we have a president, vice president, you know, just the whole hierarchy thing. But then he puts that all together, and then he releases all the classes. And then I kind of released all the St. Louis guys because I got them all on my email list and let everybody know what's going on as far as the rankings go.
Is that person that does that, he's a coach as well?
Yeah, the guy, it's there now, is at Glendale, Springfield Glendale.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they released that. You don't find out until, you say, March?
And
I think we may, I talked.
That's a tough spot.
I talked to the exec director before I came in here, Bill Seaman, who's the life and blood of our association. We are going to try and get a teams to watch list.
Gotcha.
You know, we have an idea. It's a biggest guessing now
Right.
because nobody played last year.
Right.
You know, but you know, we know teams what they have. A lot of them.
So you're looking back to basically
2 years ago.
2019, but how many, you know,
All those guys you lost.
well, how many seniors now? Really, you're missing that class, and you didn't see those kids. You didn't see the kids that were the sophomores that were.
Yeah.
So
Or the freshmen.
That's tough, man.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough deal. So the first one's going to be a guessing game, you know.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
but after you get a couple weeks, you know, it starts playing out. The hardest part is like teams like myself, Zumwalt West, and some Troy. Troy's now in my Midwest Classic, and so we got the Troy and Midwest Classic. You ain't playing no schmucks.
Right.
No.
Right.
I like Coach Elmendorf.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah, he's now the vice principal there. Our conference has got 4 new coaches.
I was not aware of that. So to fill us in, please. The GAC.
Okay, Andrew, great coach. You're right, a great guy, good dude.
Yeah.
He got an assistant principal job at Troy, and then the guy that was helping him for the last year or two, who was the head coach at Winfield, Justin Rogers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's the Troy coach now.
Very good.
Ray Howard retired from Central. Nick Beckman is the head coach there. Holt's job is open right now. Nobody's got that job.
Wow.
They had a guy and that didn't work out, so now I just learned that Wednesday night, so that job is open. They don't have a coach yet. Timberland, Andy Zaire is now the head coach. Theo Rocketus, I can't say his last name, he's called him
Theo Rocketus.
Theo.
Yeah, I have no idea. I never.
He went into administration as well.
Wow.
So there's,
I didn't know the Timberland and Holt thing.
No, I didn't.
yeah, the Parker guy got let go, and then
So both of those are still up in the air. Huh?
no, so Timberland's got. They hired Andy Zaire is his name.
Okay.
Andy's there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a good dude. We'll see how it goes.
How do you get into? I mean, Holt. That's got to be. I mean,
They got dudes too. They got a lot of good
kids.
players.
There's just a lot of kids out there.
Yeah.
The problem with Holt, Wentzville, is they're going to open up another high school next year, and
Yeah.
They're gonna have four high schools.
yeah,
Yeah. So there'll be like a Zoom alt section.
You know.
yeah.
I understand what certain things and whatnot. I looked at and I'm not quite sure how school boards go about this. I really don't. Can't tell you. But I understand, it's about attendance, the amount of population in a school and things like that. But, I guess Holt, was it that big? Did they really are they overcrowded that much?
Liberty wasn't as much. Timberland has a bunch. Holt's got a bunch.
It's more of the younger ones.
Really?
Yeah, I live in the area. I live in that district.
It's the estimation of what the families that are moving in.
You're looking at elementary school, middle school, which they're still lacking in those areas, and I think that's part of the finishing touch. But
Gotcha.
You're looking at 45 kids in a classroom at 4th, 5th grade. So you look 5, 6
Not
years
good.
down the road,
Yeah.
you're not going to have 50, 60 kids. Plus, I think people that have moved out to that area. So 50, 60 freshmen in one class. Room, not a class room.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've lived that scene where, when I first came, it was Howell North and Howell, and then Central opened up. And it hurts everybody.
Yeah.
I mean because you're getting kids that have a choice to go stay or a choice to go because they got siblings or whatever else, and it really does take, and especially with a new school, to form that new identity. There's no tradition.
there's definitely some bumps for the short term.
Yeah.
Long term, obviously,
Agree.
it's better. Short term, 100%. It's especially you look at the baseball program where Liberty started with just their JV, I think freshmen, and then they just came through. Isn't that what they did?
I thought they had sophomores.
Did they sophomores and then came through?
Yeah, I think they kind of did the same thing that East did, because both my kids went to East, and my daughter was part of that early group, and that's what they did.
That's what Howell North did too. That's why I first got a job, because we had no seniors, but they had a lot of coaching jobs open. That's when I moved to St. Charles.
And
Just more things to throw into the mix for a 21 season.
let's blow it up.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's hard. Well, we will have a rankings. I mean, it'll happen. I mean, it's
So from your perspective, though, and people in St. Louis, and then people on the other side in Kansas City or even Springfield, I would imagine the big dogs in those areas, you might have an idea of what they have, or at least they're more vocal, or maybe even more honest on what they have.
Well, I can tell you, us guys have been around a little bit. We talk.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as I got your email asking, telling me to go over rankings, I reached out to Blue Spring South. I reached out to Columbia Rockbridge, and I said, "What do you got?" And of course, Rockbridge comes down with Francis Howell #1. I said, "I don't like that."
No,
but the rest of them are okay. But they're all good guys, we have had good relationships. Back in the day, St. Louis guys didn't talk to anybody. And that's why I really got involved in the Coach Association, try to get because there's so many of us.
Right.
And if you get involved and you get, it's better for the kids. You get the kids' names out there.
And honest coaches who you can then relay, okay, here's an honest opinion on my conference and then this other group that I know, and then each spot can kind of do the same thing. Now you're getting an honest opinion on who's who, especially in a year like this when you're really missing out on freshmen and sophomores of the last year.
Yeah, they were on me in 2010. They always wanted to put me number one. I said, no, I'm not going to be. If you guys want to have any kind of legitimacy, don't put me there. I'm being honest. In 2010, I said, I'm going to be good. I didn't say nothing else, and the whole place went, oh, no, Perkins just said he's going to be good. And that's with the 11 team with Brett Graves and those guys, and we won state.
Yeah, yeah.
There you
go.
Be good.
Yeah.
I don't like putting it out there, but that was a pretty special group.
What are you looking at up in, outside of St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield?
Well, let's see, the Kansas City schools, you got Ray Peck's got 2 arms that are really good. Liberty North, who we're playing. I take a weekend, I go down and play Staley and Liberty North. Staley's always good. And those dudes always got their guys ready on Saturdays, and I don't, but it makes us better. Liberty and Liberty North, Blue Spring South, those are pretty much the Kansas City schools. Rockbridge said he's going to be bad. He never is bad, so he'll be okay. Hickman's got an arm. I'm not sure about Springfield area as much. I mean, I'll talk to Coach Julian is the guy who's doing the rankings.
Yeah.
He had more input on that. On our side of the state, CBC is going to be good, even though they lost Christian Little. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah.
He left and went to enroll in Vandy.
Yeah.
He's there right now. I saw something on Twitter last night about that. Lafayette's got a lot of arms. They're going to be good. Zumo West has got 2 guys that'll beat you. I mean, that's the problem with our conference. Everybody's got an arm that can beat you. Holt's got a guy going to Missouri State. Howell Central's got Ryan Holshaw, who played on my summer team. He'll beat you. I had Victor Quinn on my team at Liberty. I'm glad we don't play him because he's 97 right now.
And we had a good conversation with Coach Goff at Fort Zumwalt West, and he talked about he's got some players.
He does.
He's going to be solid this year.
We had one of his kids on our summer team too.
Yeah.
It's that first round districts.
The one and done.
You gotta throw. You gotta throw a dude. Or at least get the bye.
What does that do to you like that? When it is that stiff in district,
it's one and done.
Like Matt said, you got to throw a dude.
Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it?
The only time I did not throw my ace is when I was like the 3 seed in the district and I played Hannibal. I hate to say that.
Right.
But there I could maybe not throw my dude, and then I'm back on the same page as everybody else. Because you get that play-in game there, and then it's 2 games, and you usually need 3 or 4 really good ones to win it all. One guy will end your season, which stinks, and I've been battling that with the mission for a long time, wanting it to be like the college pod system and do that kind of a thing, but it's one and done. So you got to make the right decision. Some people gamble. I'm usually not that big of a gambler.
And I've heard of that. Yeah, guys you get a lot of that question. Why didn't you throw your number 1 guy right there? I mean, you're playing, stay in, because then you never know what's going to happen. You just don't.
You're right.
In 19.
Right.
You guys made a run.
Yeah.
I think surprised a lot of people. Maybe didn't surprise you, but surprised a lot of people.
Well,
you guys won your district, and then
that was it.
I think lost first round. But hey, I don't think people were expecting you to get out of the district at the time.
No, I don't think so.
I think you beat South, had a couple good arms at the time.
Pounded Liberty.
Yeah, and then you beat Liberty. Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people were thinking Liberty at that point too. Was coming out of there.
They didn't play as. I think we separate ourselves a little bit. We play all the big schools, and we play a lot of games. I mean, I'm going to play every game possible, and I'm going to lose games. I mean, I've been to Final Fours where we've lost 10, 11 games. People are like, why are you here?
Right.
And then we do well because they've seen it, they've done it.
But you're also going to Kansas City to play all the big schools there, and
going to Columbia 4 times.
Yeah.
So
might as well.
When we're talking about finishing rankings here, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little, Coach.
Go ahead.
Who are you looking at number 1?
I won't vote for myself number 1. I can guarantee that.
I understand. I get that. So if you're talking, let's get 3 teams in there that are possible.
Liberty North's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 7 commits.
And that's Blue Springs, right? Liberty or Kansas City?
No, it's Liberty, Kansas City. It's where the Chief Stadium is. But they're relatively new. Liberty's been there forever. Liberty North's been around for probably 7, 8 years or so. And they got dudes, and Liberty does too. I mean, what Blue Springs South guy did, he went to PBR's website and then went through commits that they had listed. You know, if you run a PBR event, they put your stuff out there.
Right.
And so he shot me the list of all the KC guys. Ben Bear, he's a great guy. He was the president of our association for a little bit there now, so I think he's satisfied his requirements. CBC, Vianney, you know, Scott Brown does a great job over there. He's got Dasho, played for us the summer 1 year, and you know, those guys are going to be competitive. Zumwalt West.
Yeah.
I mean, but in our conference, I mean, I've always said the team that gets out of our district, whether it be our conference race, whatever, it's got a chance to win it, just because it's so tough.
Right.
The GAC, and that's something I've always thought about. The GAC, baseball-wise, is good baseball, and that's why I'm saying, I'm going to say this out there, all you folks watching. You know, I know everybody likes to go watch a football game, the basketball game. Get out to a baseball game. You're going to see some very good baseball. And for the most part, nobody charges an entry fee, right?
I think Troy's the only one.
So you can get into the game for free and go watch, support these teams. There's a lot of great baseball happening out there. You fans, get out there and watch.
Well, there's
some
a lot
baseball.
of in this area. There's a lot of legit D1 talent in St. Charles County.
Yes.
A lot.
No doubt.
Absolutely. And, I mean, just in, you know, we're going to have Coach Hill on next week. He's got Austin Young over there with him, and he's in top, one of the PBRs got him ranked in the top 10.
Well, it just goes back to the point of you're talking about each team.
Yes.
Pretty much has a dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
and so GAC, you could win a game in districts with that kid.
But he also brought up a point that we were talking about earlier in regards to you have one, but then what happens after the one?
That's the thing.
Can you get through the one, or can you get through 5 innings against the one, and then? But if you're the team with the one, what do you do after the one?
And another thing that's changed about that too is the pitch count thing.
Right.
It's been, you know, only like 2 years. You go 105 pitches. Back in the day, you know, some of them studs back there, they go 125, 130 pitches, you know, and they ride them because they knew they had nobody else.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So they
now
are
you
trying
can't
to
do that.
protect the kids a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But so, all right, we got through that. So give me your top 10 though. If you're going to sit there, can you do that?
I haven't done that yet.
Okay, then we won't put you on the spot there. Or do you want to throw something out there?
I mean, I got CBC, Lafayette, Blue Springs South, Ray-Pec, Liberty North, Zumwalt West, Liberty, and Vianney.
Notice he wasn't in there.
Oh,
We're
in there.
In no particular order.
In no particular order.
Yeah. And around 13 or 14 is Howell. Around 13 or 14. We're on the receiving votes section of this.
Those guys
nowhere to go but up for us, baby.
Those guys like sticking it to me. I can't get out of there.
So let's take a look at your team, Coach. What do you let's preview a little bit. You're starting off with
what do you want to start with? Seniors, freshmen?
Yeah,
or
let's
whatever?
start.
Let's start with the senior class.
Yeah.
Okay. We're pretty well loaded. I mean, I wish we would have had that year of experience last year. We would have been dangerous last year.
Yeah.
But that being said, everybody's in the same boat, you know. But there's a bunch of them seniors, and I've got Matt James, who's a corner guy, arm. He was a first-team All-State guy. He's back. His dad played minor league ball. A good friend of mine, Paul James. Carson Suber's also going to Lindenwood. He was my shortstop. All these guys started for me as sophomores.
Right.
So that's why, you know, we're there. And Subert is going to Lindenwood as well. And he's an arm. He's 88-ish. Matt James is 88-ish right now. Both right-handed. They're pretty decent. Will Doherty's a dirtbag kind of a guy who hits.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play any infield spot. He can catch. He can pitch. He hits well. Super had All-State. So did Doherty. He had honorable mention kind of a thing. That was a utility kind of thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Maddox, a great basketball player. He's a great athlete. He's committed to Western Illinois. Had a lot of people interested in him. Great student. That's where I'm kind of spoiled. Most of these kids are great students. A couple of them aren't, and I won't point them out, but the rest of them are all straight A.
Keep working on it, guys. Yeah. Keep working on it. Keep working on it.
Alex Pipes, 92-ish. going to Jeffco.
Really?
Jeffco or Parkland. I mean, he's
Jeez.
bouncing back and forth. He needs to go to Jeffco. He needs to be out there in the sticks a little bit. So, yeah, he can sling it.
So you're upper 80s to 90 with 3 dudes right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's only named 5 guys.
I know.
I'm not done.
I know. So that's why I'm thinking I'm putting him a little more in that
You're putting him
top
on the
10
spot.
at this point.
You're putting him on the spot. He's not receiving votes anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got a lefty, Shane Kirby. He's on the basketball team as well. Throws strikes. He's going to East Central, and I think he's really going to help us. Good arm. And then I got the Hetzel Twins, who were committed to play football at Lindenwood. Gus is 88 off the mound. Jackson can't pitch, but they're both,
That's okay. Whatever.
they're both outfielders. So, I mean, we've got a lot of pieces to the puzzle with just that group.
Yeah.
But those are the main guys right now, and like all of them played varsity ball for me as sophomores, in and out, you know.
In 19 when you guys.
Yeah.
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 So that's why we had a little bit ahead of the game, because our upper classes weren't as good as the lower classes, and if the guy's better, he's going to get on the field.
I remember watching some of their games in 19.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of those kids, and I said, they're going to be good next year.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. But
So when we're looking at your seniors, right? And already, you know, which is it for you depth-wise? Pitching or
You start with pitching.
always, right?
Like Subert's been my starting shortstop, but he's a great arm, and you know he says I'm going to start. I used him as a closer pretty much, but I'll probably start him now because he thinks he's going to be a PO at Lindenwood, but who knows, you know. But so what do? Do you bounce your shortstop in and out, or you just put another kid in there, which I got, and just let him throw and then go play first base or DH or something like that, you know? It's difficult, but you start from the bump. I mean, there's, you know, James and Subert especially, they're multi-positional dudes. Kirby's a PO. Pipes, I don't know, he thinks he can play outfield. He's very, very fast. He'll courage you run if he's not doing something else. I don't know, Kirby's a PO. Hetzel's a two-way guy.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where Will Doherty comes in really handy because he's so versatile. You know, I can put him at all those spots. You know, I can say, okay, my shortstop's throwing today, my third baseman's throwing tomorrow, my second baseman throwing the other day. Sammy Maddox pitches, and he's mid-80s, you know, I mean.
well, it goes back to depth. And
Yeah.
So you want to talk about depth. Now you get into his junior class.
Yeah.
And now you've got
Yep.
McCutcheon, who's a Mo State guy. There's another middle infielder.
Left-hand hitting shortstop, committed to Missouri State. Dude's legit. He's like the second-ranked guy in PBR in the state.
Yeah, he's number
Yes.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a dude.
Who else you got in that class? 22
Junior's
class.
not. Jack Bryan is a kid, is a prospect dude. He's all right. He can get it done. He's got to get stronger. You know, he's a little thinner dude. And then another arm, Tyler Ruger. He's 83, 84-ish. But you need those dudes. I mean, you need guys like that can get out there and eat up some innings. You know, I mean, you can't just go 105 with all our guys, especially early. I won't do that to a guy. I mean, I go out first, you know, work first Troy tournament with her. We're 60, 70, most of them. That attitude's kind of changed too because with the kids in their club teams and doing all their training and stuff.
Right.
CBC put me on this about 10 years ago. They shot a guy out there, they beat us on a walk-off home run, and they left their dude out there the whole game. And I talked to Mason after the game, Horn. I talked to him after the game. I said, why'd you do that? Because he was over 100. He goes, well, he's ready. He's been doing it all winter. And so I had to sit back and reevaluate what's going on.
Right.
Okay, is my guy going to the prospects? He's going to the Tigers. He's going to Forest or wherever. And he's been pitching all winter, starting. Well, most of them have picked up beginning in November, I would say. And so their arms are conditioned and they're ready to roll. But it's cold too, so it's two-edged sword. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't let a kid go 100 first week or two.
Is it?
I wouldn't either, but it's all about the kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly
Right.
the kid, but you also have to think if the kid's been – the whole idea of shut down really doesn't seem to exist for majority of the top kids because they're either getting ready for something in the winter, whether they're going to Arizona, or they're going up to, I think, Michigan has the
Florida went there too.
Florida. They got all kinds of stuff going on all winter, so a lot of them are getting prepared for that, or they're getting prepared for a different showcase altogether.
Right.
So they've got to get ready to throw. Or some of them, I know kids that legit still play all winter. They just go down south and keep playing.
Yep, you're
Whether
right.
it's Florida or Arizona.
Texas, right?
Yeah, normally in the winter, I mean, Florida and Arizona are the two big ones. that
Yeah, Texas is building a complex that's going to be a PBR thing. I don't think it's ready yet, but like you're saying,
Yeah.
Atlanta and
you
Florida.
like Lake Point's. I mean, you go online and you can watch a Lake Point game this weekend if you want.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So like I said, it's the kid. I mean, some kids are, their arms aren't conditioned for that, and some of them can do it, some of them can't. But
They just roll in, throw their 80, 60, 70, 80 pitches, and then roll out. That's it.
Pretty much.
That's what happens.
So your sophomore class, what do you got there? And will you have those sophomores up at the varsity level?
Well, the marquee guy is Brett Norfleet. I mean, he's 6'7", and he's been offered Tennessee, Missouri, both football and baseball. He had surgery about 2 weeks after football season was off. We will not have him. He won't be able to throw. He may not be able to throw this summer, is what he told me last week. So I don't know. I mean, the dude's 92, 93, he's 6'7", and it's easy, and he's 15 years old doing that. And it's like, wow.
And
He's the kid to look out for.
Yeah.
In the area, he's definitely a kid to put a star by.
And if he doesn't throw in the summer, that's not a bad thing for him. At his age, coming off the surgery, it's probably even better, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, like to have him.
Well, I
could have had him in 4 years. Now I got him 2 years.
But you're not going to get. And he's talking about not even throwing in the summer, though. Correct? Is that what
See
you're
where
saying?
he's at.
It just depends on his recovery.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, he's going to need to throw because they're going to want to see him now after surgery.
Yeah.
He might be throwing 102 after surgery.
He's got that frame. That's been projectability.
Yeah.
People have mentioned that.
Woo.
He's a big kid. He's young.
Jeez.
And he's a good kid. I mean, he's humble. I mean, he's not cocky at all. I mean, he's a great kid.
We had an interaction with him when he was. We were down with Game 7. They were doing an all-star game at Hammons Field, and he threw out the first pitch after they had played, and he'd thrown. Him and his mom were there. Nicest people. He's a great kid. He really is. I really enjoyed him.
Dad played at Central Missouri when they were national champs, so he's got a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a solid team, too.
He's a good kid. What else you got there? So how many other besides Brett, though, as in that sophomore age, you got depth coming from that sophomore?
Yeah, I mean, my lower levels, there's a lot of players in the stable. Aiden Rogers, Donnie, you guys know Donnie Rogers. They call him Baseball Donnie. His sons are now at Howell. Aiden's a sophomore catcher, really good. Brady Wilson, Cole Schultz, Brady Holtman, Caleb Miller, Carter Allen, even Evan Pivovarski. I'm terrible with that name. Everybody just calls him Pivo. I mean, there's a bunch of dudes right there. I mean, and they're all baseball rats, and they understand the training. A lot of them are prospects, so I get to see them. I mean, in fact, Nick, my son, coached that group, so that 15s last year. So I was around and got to see him play. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sophomores that were prospects. So they were running the same circuit that I was running with the 17s, 17s. So we were in the same place. So if I wasn't playing, I'd go check them out. But yeah, it's a nice group. We'll see. There's a bunch of arms there too.
It's tough, isn't it, Coach? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
It is tough.
And so, and Matt and I were discussing in our earlier segment, because we're talking about 13 and 14 U's and depth and how you get through a tournament, at that age level. And it all really comes back to that pitching. And then that depth at your 7, 8, 9 spot, your utility players, and those kids that one hit. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We had a kid, what year was that? 2013. We won state. He batted ninth the whole year, and he had a 400 average. And I never moved him out of there because you get him to the top of the order, bam. Coach Goff from Zumwalt West at the all-conference meeting, he goes, "You talking about the guy that batted ninth for you, that hit everything?" I go, "Yeah, that's a dude." He goes, he's first team.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? Who cares if you're batting night? I'm hitting 400, man. Isn't that? I mean, that's a career in itself, just like that.
And you're starting.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a tough thing. I
Contribute.
mean, that's the thing where we're at. If we get, I always tell my guys, seniors especially, is if you go 4 years at Francis Howell, pretty good chance you can play college somewhere. You know, and but it's hard. I mean, we cut kids, and kids sit on the bench that don't play that would easily play at other places, and it is a rough task.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, in that process, you know, this is the hard part. So you come to your tryouts, right? And you're there and you whatnot, and you have a pretty good amount of names that you already know. That kid that comes out for the tryout that maybe is, you know, looking to do, that's a tough gig, isn't it?
Yeah, but every now and then it happens. Me and Coach Darren Sissel's been with me for 20 years. I coached him in 91 and 93. Mm-hmm. He said there's always that guy that you don't know.
Right.
That ends up being pivotal, especially on the mound. Like a Brandon Callaway came through in 11 and just was a dude. He went 10 innings without getting scored on postseason. I was like, we didn't see that coming. Johnny Lovelady was my second baseman, wasn't hitting worth anything, so you know he lost that job. I said, well, let's throw him. Ends up starting a sectional game, you know, and did great. I mean, it's just there's always something that you don't see coming, and hopefully it's a good one. I mean, you're going to lose kids, especially this year. You never know. COVID hits and
Right.
you're gone.
Right.
Yeah, but the big thing about Coach is, yes, he has players, but there's a lot of high school programs that get players. He actually has, for one, he cares.
Yep.
I do that for sure.
And two, he has a program in place that he built and that it works.
Yeah.
So he's not just saying, "Hey, go do whatever you want." It's Francis Howell's known because Coach Perkins took the talent that was there and did something with it.
Right.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I really do.
But it's true. Like that's an outsider's
It's
perspective
true.
of what
You're not
happened.
wrong.
Because you can go to other schools throughout the years that have had a lot of talent. And this is, I mean, I'm not knocking high school baseball coaches, but there's a lot of high school baseball coaches that get talent and nothing comes about it. And you're like, how did that team not do anything?
Right. I agree with
But
you.
it also starts when, I mean, he's looking at freshmen and sophomores. There's high school baseball coaches that will not bring up a freshman, will not bring up a sophomore. You're a senior, you're playing, juniors, you fill in underneath. Talent doesn't matter. And he's not that, I mean, he's laughing, right? But that's why they are what they are,
Right.
especially coming from a public high school. This isn't CBC or Vianney or DeSmet.
Right.
This is a public high school.
Yeah.
That's what I'm proud of. That
So-
we do that. I've only had 2 guys be 4-year starters for me, and one of my sons. So it was 2 other dudes, Greg Rogers and Michael Hopkins. It just there was a need, and then they hit, and they did that. But I wanted to share a story with Coach Sissel. Asked about the preparations part of it, and people always ask me what separates us. And a lot of times, Coach Sissel says, "You know what it is, Perkins?" I said, "What?" And he goes, "It's your practices." He said, "You get on them in practices. I mean, you get on them hard." He goes, and then there's nothing that they don't experience in practice that usually comes up in the game. And I've always been practice mine, game's yours. And in game, you don't see me chewing on a guy very often. I mean, because if you chew on a guy and he crawls up in the shell, he's done anyway. So
Right.
you just let him go. You let him try and get whatever you can out of him. But during practice, I'll crawl down their throats. I mean, we got to get. If we're not good enough in practice, we ain't gonna win no games.
Right. Exactly. And I think it's a great point what you made there. And at whatever level, yeah, everybody, I don't care what sport it is, has to have talent. Mm-hmm. If you don't have talent, I don't
you
care
can
how
win
good
a game.
coach you are.
You can win a
right?
game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's baseball.
Yeah,
But
you can win a
it's-
game.
It's the
But
coach.
can you win 2 in a row?
Right. It's the coach or the manager that understands how to get the most out of their kids. What is that? And I think that is a testament when you see long-term success with all different kids. You're moving kids through. And I think that's at the high school and collegiate level.
I think tradition too. I mean, in our place, I mean, we have alumni just walk up, like Case Munson, Jake Ivory, Gordy Gundaker, Brett Graves. Those guys
Yeah.
will just come in and say hi. And then of course I'm saying hey, come over here and talk to these dudes. tell them what it takes to do what you guys did, you know. Right. And then these guys are all big-eyed looking at him, you know. Right. So that helps. I mean, and they know, and we hammer them about that, you know. It doesn't come easy. I mean, you ain't gonna walk in the field win a game. You got to earn it, you know, and you got to work hard at it. You got to be physically conditioned. And you got to be ready to rock and roll. I mean, it's a hard job. I mean, but I'll do my part.
Yeah. And so, you know, at every level you see a lot of talent fail. And I think that goes to preparation on the coach's side, as you said, and not knocking coaches. It's just sometimes guys at the coaching level can do it better than others. That's why I don't coach. I'm not that guy.
Well, I'm lucky I surround myself with guys, though. I got good coaches helping me, and I can just say, sis, go take the outfielders. And I used to, when I do practice schedules, I just put everything down, every position, what drill we're doing, blah, blah. I quit doing that after a while. Sissel didn't follow it anyway, so I said, Sis, you got him in the outfield.
Do what you do.
You know, I don't see you guys for 20 minutes. I got catchers and whatever else, you know. I mean, you got to rely on the people around you, and if they're not good coaches, you got to coach your coaches and say, hey, this is what we need to do. This has to be done. And
you've built that trust in him over that time as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, trusting what he knows, what he's done, the success that those kids are having, because he's able to get the most out of those kids as well.
Yeah, and I got Rick Youngerman now, and he's a great infield dude. So, I mean, I give him outlines of it. He's doing the Gator stuff with the softball side, I think, is what he's doing now, too. But
yep.
He's a good guy to have around. I mean, I try to surround myself with baseball people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach.
Let me talk about the freshmen real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't get to the freshmen. That's my fault. Go ahead.
The only reason I say that is because Darren Sissel's son is a freshman.
Okay, all right. Sorry, Darren, we'll get you in there.
And Titus is his name. That dude is just like his dad. You know, really? Like I said, I coached his dad when he was younger, and he started for us for 3 years. Switch hitter, can run like the wind, that kind of thing. And his kid is just like him. So I'm real excited about him. But there's 4 other dudes that are really good players. Adam Shipley, Garrett Puckett, Owen Larrigan, Lucas Pearson. All those guys are playing at a high level in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that makes a difference too. I can always tell you how good we're going to be, how many club team members I have on my team.
And where they're at within that structure. Right?
If they're on the scout team, on prospects, or, you know, the I don't know what the gamers, blue or gray, whatever the best team is. If they're on those teams and Pirates and I get those guys, I get a bunch of them on my team, I got a chance.
Yeah.
But if I got a bunch of guys that don't get out and go to Atlanta, go to Indy, and see that good pitching every week, you know, and, you know, it's a hard go. But if you've been through it, you're that much better.
Yeah.
It's playing that schedule.
Yep.
You got to play that schedule. We had that conversation earlier, and then we just had the conversation about how playing that schedule.
Yeah, it's the toughest thing ever, and I do it on purpose. I really do. I mean, they changed the rules of high school. Now you go 16 games and 3 tournaments, and so golf had been doing it at Zuma West School in the Columbia tournament. I called up Tao and I said, "Hey man, can I get in?" He goes, "Yeah." So you go down there, and I'm playing Hickman and Rockbridge and all those guys again, and he's getting some Springfield teams in and some Kansas City teams in, and I got the Kansas City trip with Staley and Liberty North, but I don't spend the night. I mean, I get them up early, we roll in, play our 2, roll out.
Sleeping in my own bed.
Yeah, exactly. I don't blame you. And, you know, to what Matt said, we were talking about that, and I think this is a difference in that summer baseball as the kids are coming up. You know, you have that state level where kids are playing mostly in their state. Then you have that regional level where you're playing outside of your state in different places, but then that national level.
Yeah, you can just go down to Atlanta and spend 7 weeks down there, you'd be good.
Yeah.
Well, some guys do.
I know.
Yeah.
Arms, they used to stay down there.
It makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
It does. I would like to thank Sean Irwin and Gina Kearns in the administration office. They do so much for me. It's just, it's so nice to have that backing.
Sean's a good guy. I've talked with him from
dude.
time to time. He's a good dude.
He's a Viking dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Tradition, right?
It's
there
awesome.
it is. There it is, that tradition.
He's proud to be a part of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. Yeah. And hope to get you on. You know, we'll probably catch up with you, get some updates of how things are going through the season.
Yeah, follow that Troy tournament, Midwest Classic. There'll be some games.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll get the cameras out there if you don't mind.
Heck yeah.
All right.
You'll see some arms.
Man.
Go watch the number 1 ranked team in the state. Francis Howell.
You're not supposed to say that out loud.
No, don't say that. X that out, will you?
Hey, guys, thanks for joining us today on the show. We do appreciate it. And remember, all you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. You hitters, what's the old saying?
Hit them where they ain't.
Hit them where they ain't. That's the way it goes. Everybody have a great day in the Lord, and we'll see you next time.